Christmas in July. All right, let's get going here. All right, good morning. My name is Lisa White. I'm the Health Promotion Manager at 14 Wing Greenwood. Welcome to Coffee Break. It is July 16th today. Wow. Halfway through the summer and technical things happening already in here. So this morning's subject is going to be called Recommendations for Sleep Optimization During COVID-19. And I'm going to be talking to you about some information that I believe that the authors of the article were Jamie Collins, who has a PhD in human kinetics, a mental performance officer in delivery, and Aaron Beattie, PhD in psychology, mental performance officer, R&D is that acronym there. I'm also going to be adding points from Strengthening the Forces and examples that were shared with me by other people who may have attended some of our workshops, or just from talking to people in general about how their sleep has been during this pandemic, and maybe some of the strategies that they might be implementing in their sleep pattern and sleep hygiene. A little bit of a disclaimer here. I gotta find it on here. So the presentation you're about to view is the intellectual property of the Department of National Defense, and any reproduction of the slides contained in this presentation is strictly forbidden. And some of the topics discussed in the webinar may be of sensitive nature and not appropriate for children, so we ask for parental guidance. That's what I'm looking for. Sorry. This is what I lost. Sorry. Surprised that there's little shenanigans going on behind the scenes. There we go. Now I can see my computer a little bit better. All right. Let's get rid of that. All right. Is anybody out there? Oh, hi, Diane. I got one person out there. Cool. Okay, so the resource that I'm going to talk to you, it will provide some evidence-based strategies along with some guidance on how you can tailor or enhance your sleep quality or quantity during the current pandemic, and even as the pandemic started to now, probably things are a little bit different, how you would tailor your sleep and things like that, and the quality and quantity of your sleep. So they're just some recommendations that are going to be offered today, and you're going to recognize some things that maybe you shouldn't be doing, and maybe some things that might help you to optimize your sleep a little bit better during this current reality that we're living in. I'll give you a little stat here. So 1 in 2 Canadian adults have difficulty going to sleep or staying asleep. 1 in 5 adults do not find their sleep refreshing, and 1 in 3 adults have difficulty staying awake during the day. So when we think about the current situation that we're in, so I like to go back a little bit. So if you think about before the pandemic and what your sleep hygiene is, and usually we deliver to the military community. So we deliver to military members, their family, and the defense team. So if you look at the nature of the work that our military members do, their sleep pattern and their sleep hygiene is always of utmost importance, right? And it is something that sometimes tends to get disrupted just based on certain trades and training that certain people do. So if you look at military members who are on deployments, right? So your sleep pattern is going to be different on deployments. You're away from home, you're in different altitudes, you're in different climates, you're in different countries, you're eating different food, your taskings are different, maybe heavier. You're 24/7. No, you're 24/7 at home. The 24/7 could be different on a deployment. So that could change your sleep pattern. You're looking at the different food that you're eating, the different operational tempo that you're in, the different people that you're with, the different type of accommodations that you're living in, whether you're out on a ship, out in the field, out on a deployment, out in a hotel. Just depends on where you are, the noise level, the air quality, the type of coolness in the room, the heat, the humidity, all those types of things can have an impact on our sleep hygiene, right? Then you look at the certain jobs. So I work on an Air Force base, so if you look at certain things like the SARTECs, you're looking at air crew, you're looking at air mechanics, so you're looking at people who are working shift work, who are on call sometimes. You're looking at transport drivers, air traffic controllers, firefighters, and the various other trades that could be on shift work. And then you can go to our regular folk in the regular positions in different trades, right, that are, Monday to Friday, normal working hours. So regardless of your tempo and your operations, your sleep hygiene is your sleep hygiene, right? And it could be, you could be doing well with it right now, and maybe not. And even before the pandemic, some people weren't doing well with their sleep to begin with. So then you add this on top of it. So, but when you look at that too, though, you can kind of think, for some people, since this pandemic has happened, some people, since the schools have closed, the daycares have closed, the businesses have closed, and I'm going back to the beginning, and it'll take us all the way to now. But if you look at what had happened right at the beginning, everything kind of shut down. Everything was canceled. Vacations were canceled. People were stuck away, out on cruise ships. Some people were stuck in different countries because they were on vacation at first. So you're trying to get people home. You're looking at having to isolate and stay at home. So the dynamics of the family have changed. So you're looking at people who are home now. Everyone's home. So the kids are home, the parents are home, and maybe you're looking after other people that live with you, and everybody's home, the pets are home, and all of this. And then you're working at home. And so you may not get a lot of work done through the day because things are very chaotic. So you're working at night to get work done, and then your sleep pattern is going to change, right? And that's going to get disrupted. And then you look at people who are alone, and they're socializing. Like, we're going to talk that being socially connected to your friends and family and colleagues and stuff is part of your sleep hygiene, right? And now some people, at the very beginning, they were very isolated, and maybe you were alone. Maybe you're living in the barracks by yourself, or you're living on your own, and now you're not able to see people and socialize with other people. Gyms were closed. So maybe that was your way of going to the gym and socializing and getting some exercises, whether you're alone or whether you're in a family. Sometimes that was an outlet for people, and now they're closed, and all the recreation programs are closed, and the libraries are closed, and the MFRCs were closed, and the mall was closed, and you couldn't go to beaches, you couldn't go anywhere really in public with other people. Like we were being monitored. You couldn't go for a drive with a friend or at the very beginning, and all that stuff was sort of taken away from us, which with the current situation, that did provide some disturbances for people's sleep pattern, right? And then you look at people who are in long-term care homes, right, and not being able to visit your loved ones, and them not even be able to get out or see people, right? And then you have people who are going into the hospital, and all these disturbances and things that have happened can cause stress for people, anxiety, and again leading to some disturbed sleep for people. And then you look at, again, I'll go back to back into some more military disruptions in sleep. I talked a little bit about a few at the beginning, but then you look at members who are, I think they're starting basic training soon, I'm not sure, but you look at going into basic training and when you're on different courses and things like that, so then you're out, your sleep, that was one of the first things when my son went on basic training. He told me that the hardest thing that he had to get through was not getting enough sleep. Like the sleep was disrupted, or his pattern of sleep was disrupted, right, which he was finding difficult. Then you get people who are going on their trades training and their BMQs and their PLQs and all those types of things, and then they're away from their family. They could be in hotels with 2 people or in the barracks with 2 people, and so on, right? So all those dynamics of our military community. Then you look at the families. We don't want to forget about them. Their loved ones could be away, or they are home, right? And then the whole disruption there. And then we look at our employees that work on base, and maybe they're working from home now, and their sleep has been disrupted because they're working at home. And now we're coming back to work, so things are changing again. So the constant uncertainty and the constant change in our sleep cycle can definitely impact the quality and the quantity of sleep that we get. And then you go along with, when this first started, you start to look at the tragedies that we had at the very beginning. We had so many different tragedies in our province and in other parts of the world and countries and things like that, but specifically pinpointing the Canadian Armed Forces and the tragedy that happened in April. And then we look at, the snowbird and all of those types of tragedies that have gone on, which have definitely disrupted people's sleep pattern. Bringing about some worry and some fear into Nova Scotians and other Canadians too, with what had happened at the beginning of all. You go a pandemic, and then you have all these tragedies that go along with it, and then you have people sleeping with one eye open a little bit, and maybe getting some disruptions in sleep and not being able to get into that full quality of REM sleep, right? So you're looking at all of these things that potentially have been impacting people at the beginning of all of this, right? So the personal stress of all of this can be different for some people. So you look at, so here's some positive aspects for this pandemic. There's really none, really, but I'm talking about as far as sleep for some people. Okay, so some positive things for some people has been that someone could be very busy and have a very busy schedule, commuting and things like that. So with being at home now, they're able to get more sleep, spend more time with family, spend more time on their fitness, less commuting, and driving. So I know for myself, like when this first happened, I usually get up at, between 6:30 and 7, get ready for work, and I'm usually at work between 8 and 8:30, right? So then I'm getting up at 8, going right onto my computer and starting. Right? In the morning, I can just sleep in a little bit longer. So people's sleep disturbance patterns were getting on and off, right? But for some people, it was a welcome change. It was a chance to be able to reconnect with their spouse and have some time with their kids and things like that, which they weren't getting before, and then balancing out some work in between. So for some people, it was sort of like a welcome change. And then for others, it wasn't so much, right? Like I mentioned earlier, people are at home and now the kids are there. There's homeschooling. You still got work to do in the evenings or daytime or whenever you can try to fit it in. And then sometimes people had too much time on their hands and not enough things to do and not enough things to keep them motivated. And then procrastinating and then maybe turning to other things to fill in the time, which can cause disturbances in sleep, like gaming and gambling and substance use and taking in stimulants and things like that and medications and stuff like that can interrupt our sleep, right? So there's a lot of factors that can influence our sleep quality, especially during this time. But then we look at, how things have changed from March 13th to July 16th. Right, things have changed. We're moving sort of into different phases. I think Nova Scotia's in phase 3, I think, where businesses are opening up and restaurants are opening up, and now we can go out to public places and have smaller gatherings. We can go to the public beaches. We're into the parks, and so there's some sort of return to some sort of new normal. I know some people don't like that terminology, but it is what it is, right? And now we're going from all this disruption over here to some people going back into their environment that they were in before. So now they've got to adjust everything all over again. But there's still some of those uncertainties that are still in front of us, right? We still don't know how, we don't have a treatment, we don't have a vaccine, we still don't know, like, how long are these new changes going to be in place? Are they going to stay? Are we going to go into a phase 4? Are we going to go backtracking? Some of those things are our kids going to be back in school in the fall? Will it be full-time? Will it be part-time? Will it be so we're still kind of all over the place a little bit with what's going on right now. And again, that can cause some rumination, some stress, some anxiety. And again, and as we know, looking after ourselves from the time we get up to the time we go to bed has a huge impact on our sleep optimization and making sure that we have good quantity and quality of sleep during times like this. And even during regular times, so it's all times, right? But as you know, we are a military community and change is a big part of our military folks, right? They're always going into different things. So learning how to adapt your sleep pattern to get the best quality and quantity that you can get based on the situation that you're in is very important that we pay attention to that, because it can have a huge impact on our performance, our relationships, our mood, our mental fitness, our mental health, our physical health, and so on, right? So here's some some tips that you can look at if you want to improve your sleep hygiene. So as soon as you wake up in the morning, okay, the first thing that you should be doing is sticking to your regular sleep pattern, even if it's unusual for you, right? So this is when you wake up, and we'll get into like some of the tips, the first thing when you do when you wake up. But one of the things you want to make sure is sticking to your regular sleep pattern. So even if it's unusual to you, because our circadian rhythm, our internal clock, is what regulates the timing of our sleepiness and our alertness throughout the day. So it's important that we're able to set our circadian rhythm, because it does have a huge impact on our sleep quality and quantity if we're not doing that. And it can get disrupted from things like jet lag, being called out in the night. You know, we have certain trades that get called in, called out, and things like that. Something could happen within the family, or anything could happen which could interrupt our sleep pattern, right? So, but typically getting your circadian rhythm on track is important, because when it is disrupted and it gets thrown off, then it can throw off our systems too as well. So it's typical for people to sort of set a timeline of going to bed at the same time. I know we hear this a lot, but it is important that if you can try to go to bed at the same time at night and get up around the same time in the morning. So you're looking at about a 30-minute window each way. 30 minutes give or take before, and 30 minutes give or take in the morning. And they tell you to even do this on the weekends as well. And I can remember growing up, and you know, our parents are very strict about sleep, and I think, I don't know, it's changing as we go along and as we go through the generations. But I know for us, as we grew up, we were in bed at the same time and up at the same time, Monday to Friday. The only difference is on Friday nights, and I might be aging myself here, but we were allowed to stay up and watch Dukes of Hazzard on Friday night, and we could stay up an extra hour, right? And then guess what we were doing first thing, dark 100 in the morning on Saturday? Does anybody guess? Usually we're getting up to watch Saturday morning cartoons. And off we go for our day, and then in Saturday night, we watch Hockey Night in Canada, and then after Peter Puck, we had to go to bed, right? I don't know if you know who Peter Puck is, but that was the coach's corner back then. And I know there's no coach's corner now, but that was what we did. And those were the extra times that we got to stay up, and then Sunday was sort of back to normal, right? So you try your best to keep on that same pattern as you go along. And I think even when I raised my own kids, like, we tried our best to keep their sleep pattern the same through the week. It's kind of easy when they're in school, because they're in school. I think summertime is the hardest time for people to keep their kids on a stringent path, unless they're in like a day camps and things like that. And then, as we know, the day camps at first were not available, but now they are available. And I know that they still have room for people to attend the day camp. So if you're a military family, there's still room in the day camps if you want to put your children in the day camps, right? So you just have to talk to your chain of command about that. But so the sleep patterns can get off in the summertime. But I know, like, for like today's generation, like for when I raised my kids, the weekends were pretty much the same, only because my boys were in hockey, so a lot of the times they had to go to bed early because they had to get up to go to games and things like that. Where it would have got thrown off for all of us is if we had to travel, if we had to leave earlier in the morning, and if they're late getting back to the hotel and things. So there's different things that are going to disrupt our sleep pattern, but if for the most part we're trying to stay as even as we can, it can make a huge difference in the quality and the quantity of your sleep and the latency of your sleep. So that means, you know, the time it takes for you to fall asleep, right? Get outside first thing in the morning, and I tell you, it does make a huge difference. So when you wake up in the morning, open up your blinds, you know, let the sunshine come in your house, get outside, get in the sun between, or even if it's cloudy out, same thing, it doesn't matter, it can improve. It is linked to good quality of sleep and and you being able to fall asleep if you can start right away by getting out and getting into the elements outside. Get out there. Don't put your hat and your glasses off. Try to leave, like your sunglasses, try to leave those off for the first 30 to 60 minutes when you get outside. I know you have to take proper care in safety, like with sunscreen and hats and glasses and things like that. But if it's not at a time in the morning where those things are, you know, high, if you can get out and be safe about it and get out, and it has a huge difference on your sleep hygiene if you can get out and do that. what it does is it plays a key role in optimization by suppressing melatonin and regulating circadian rhythms. Okay, so just 30 to 60 minutes, like I said. You can get outside, you can have a drink of coffee, have your breakfast outside, take your dog for your walk, tackle an outdoor project. Because keep in mind, your eyes do detect light and adjust your circadian rhythm. Therefore, wait a bit, like I said earlier, before you start covering yourself up, right? You want to have your eyes exposed to the sun. Don't stare at it, be realistic. Just make sure you get out there and get that exposure a little bit. And it's actually the environmental exposure to light is better than the artificial light. So that's why you want to get out. Even if it's cloudy outside, like yesterday, and it's been cloudy and overcast and things like that, it's still important to get out in the light. Okay, get out and get your eyes exposed to the light. Okay, so throughout the day, so this is, you've probably heard this before, right? You want to make time for physical activity, and I think that's been something that a lot of people have been driving home, is to get out and get some physical activity. But there's some similarities and some differences in the type of, or what you can do as far as physical activity. So we'll take a look at that. So the benefits of exercise for sleep are strong and immediate. Okay, acute exercise has positive effects on the total sleep time. Slow wave sleep, as well as sleep efficiency and latency. So latency is the time it takes for you to fall asleep, right? And the benefits are even greater with regular exercise. So when it comes to exercise for sleep optimization, you only have to do 135 to 150 minutes of activity a week to improve the quality and quantity of your sleep. Okay, so that's not a lot of minutes, really. If you break it down, you don't have to really do a whole lot. Of course, with the activity guide, we want people to get up to about 60 to 90 minutes a day, up to 150 minutes a week, and so on, right? But if you can get up and do about a half an hour, 30 to 60 minutes a day, you can break it up, but get out and get some fresh air, get some exercise. I mean, the gyms are open now for military members, so getting out to the gym now and pumping some iron and getting into the cardio room and getting your heart rate up is really good for sleep too as well, because they do say that the duration of your exercise does benefit your sleep when you do larger amounts. So the more that you do, the more bouts of activity that you do does have a greater impact on your sleep quality and quantity. The type of exercise, though, doesn't really have any significant differences, really has been shown. So some of the research is saying that it doesn't really matter what you do, as long as you do something, right? It's the bouts of it that sometimes has an increased benefit to sleep quality. There's different intensities that you would be doing. So the different intensities of exercise, like light, moderate, and vigorous, they actually provide the same benefits. And then you look at timing. So when it comes to timing and scheduling for exercise, the research is kind of inconsistent, and I can kind of believe that, because for some people, exercising late at night, like under 3 hours a night, or less than 3 hours, if you're exercising before you go to bed, less than 3 hours, for some people that disrupts their sleep. So you gotta have to play around with it. So some people will try to exercise 8 hours before they go to sleep. Some try 3 to 8 hours, and then some people try 3 hours. So you're gonna have to try to play around with what exercise can do for you as far as being able to sleep. Okay, so even if the different bouts is helpful, and they say that does help, so if you can try to put different bouts in there throughout the day, that can definitely help with your sleep quality and the latency of sleep, right? Getting yourself to sleep and falling asleep. So again, track your sleep like you would your nutrition and your alcohol and your gaming and gambling, and you track your exercise and your anger and your stress. So if you want to make some changes, you want to find out how can I get better quality of sleep. First, you got to track how long you're sleeping, when you're going to bed, the quality of sleep you're getting, what's your mood like, what's your performance like, what's your nutrition like, what's your exercise like, and what's the impact of all of those things, right? So you got to track and play with it for a little while, like you would anything, especially if you're trying something new. And then you start to see some of the things that you're doing really well, and then some of the things that you need to work on to make things better, and get that, and learning how to change and pay attention to your, have an awareness about your sleep hygiene, because we know that our environment and our work schedules can change, especially our military members, right? And then when they do, you have to learn to change and alter what you're going to be doing for a certain period of time. So if you're going on a training course and you're going to be gone for a year or gone for 8 months or 6 months or whatever it is, and you're going to be in a different environment, a different location, different quarters and all that stuff, you're going to have to set schedules for yourself based on the schedules of your training, so you can optimize your sleep to optimize performance, right? So it's very important that we do that. And physical activity at any time is important for sleep hygiene, especially during this time. What was one of the first things they said to us that we were allowed to do during the pandemic? Is we were allowed to go outside and go for a walk as long as we social distanced ourselves or physically distanced ourselves from other people. That was one of the things we were actually allowed to do, as everything else was taken away from us, right? We're actually allowed, unless you had symptoms or you were being tested or you had COVID-19, right? That's the difference. But we were allowed to get outside, and that's why they do that, because we know it's important for our mental health, we know it's important for sleep, and so on, getting our circulation and heart rate, endorphins, and all those things flowing, right? So then we look at emphasizing a balanced diet and hydration. Okay, these are things that are not shocking for a lot of people, right? We've heard of these things before, but if you look at what you're consuming, especially before bedtime, and I'll get to that in a few minutes, but emphasizing proper diet through the daytime and before bed can certainly help with your sleep, right? So to enhance sleep quality and quantity, eat a balanced diet. So we know that we have to have carbohydrates, proteins, we have to have whole grains, fresh fruits, vegetables, poultry, red meat, dairy products, seafood, beans, lentils, eggs, and there's a lot of different diets out there. I understand that, and I know that Jeanette did a very good job on her discussion on intermittent fasting. She's talked about keto. There's all kinds of different diets out there. So if you're talking to professionals and you're looking at credible information and it works for you, because everybody's different, everybody's exercise regime is different, everybody's health is different, everybody's needs are different. So if you're finding that your sleep has been disturbed, take a look at your nutrition and alter it to sort out and sort of be on time and on track with your personal health, right? One of the things they do tell us is that it can be hard for some people to go to sleep when they're hungry at nighttime, and I am going to talk a little bit about that. They find that too when people go to sleep at night and they eat like fried foods, spicy foods, processed foods, a lot of that less than 2 hours before bed, that can have an impact on their sleep quality and quantity, and can sort of cause some disturbances. Sleep. So, and if you're getting up 2 to 3 times a night to go to the bathroom, you're drinking too much fluid before bed. And it's quite normal for people to get up in the night to go to the bathroom, but if you're getting up 2, 3, 4 times in the night, that's causing a lot of disturbance, right, for you at night. So you may want to watch how much fluid you consume before bed, and again, you probably have to play with that a little bit. They do say in here that stay well hydrated throughout the day and reduce fluid intake after 8 o'clock to avoid frequent trips to the bathroom. And again, if you're looking for more nutritional information and support, you would turn to your professionals, right? So you can go and see your performance dietitians, you can get some nutritional support from the health promotion and so on, and talk to your medical officers, and sometimes talking to your pharmacist too can help as well when we're looking at that. Okay? That's a whole, I mean, I could talk to you about nutrition forever. We have so much information and there's so much out there, right? I'm just giving you a glimpse that if looking at your diet throughout the day and before bed isn't going to be important, okay? So if you're looking at daytime fatigue, okay, some people do get tired throughout the day. It's quite typical for people's blood sugar and things like that. If you're working like full time, like throughout the Monday to Friday, it's typical for a lot of people's blood sugars to go low at around 2 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So sometimes they'll tell you that's kind of a good time to have a nap, all right, around that time. But the timing for naps is going to be very individual. So I'm not going to go specifically into what times you should have them. But what they do say is that taking a nap can boost your mood. It can help with productivity. Keep your naps quite brief. I mean, you're not going to go to sleep for 3 hours. That's not really considered a nap. There has been some individual variability in each of the sleep cycles. So one of the most commonly cited duration for a nap, they say, is 90 minutes. That's one of the ones that's cited a lot. They do say that if you're sleeping or napping 20 minutes, you'll wake up from a light initial sleep phase within that cycle. And then naps of 30 to 60 minutes duration mean you'll wake up sometimes from a deeper phase of sleep. And so that likely, sometimes people feel groggy and still not quite awake and have a hard time with their performance. So pay attention to how you're sleeping at nighttime. If your napping is leading to difficulty falling asleep at your usual bedtime, you might have to reconsider your daytime nap. Okay, so you're going to have to play around with that. Some people can nap and get away with it and go to bed right on time, and other people not so much, right? So again, that's going to be very individual. Okay, so pay attention to that. Some people don't realize that they're napping and that it's affecting their sleep. And some people who nap, they go to sleep great. So pay attention to that one. If you're going to enjoy a drink or two, so if you're going to have a drink or two, for men, does anybody know what the standard drinks are for men? One, let me see if anybody can get it. Oh, too late. So the standard drinks for men per day, on the average, is 3 drinks a day for men and 2 for women. It used to be 1 for women and 2 for men, but they changed it. But with the low risk drinking guidelines, they talk about taking time off. So 3 drinks a day, but only 15 drinks a week for men maximum. And no, you can't save them and have them up on the one day. It's not Weight Watcher points. You can't do that. I don't know if Weight Watchers still does that, but they used to. No, you can't do that. So you're just going to skip days. You're not going to be driving. You're not going to be operating machinery. If you're breastfeeding, if you're pregnant. So there's parameters around the low risk drinking guidelines. They're low risk, not a no risk. So if you're going into work, and you have to be realistic, right? You wouldn't be drinking 3 standard drinks on your way into work in the morning. That wouldn't be realistic. But if you're staying within the guidelines and you're taking time off to do other things, like going, I don't know, we can't go to the movies, but going out for walks and so on, doing other activities in between, then that's considered the low risk drinking guidelines. You're not going to be, going to work and stuff like that. But they do say there's a timing for that. So the best time, if you're going to have a couple of drinks, they say is during happy hour, right? So if you're going to, consuming alcoholic beverages, they say 6 hours before sleep, or is that caffeine? No, that's caffeine. So try not to consume alcohol too close, 1 to 2 hours before you go to bed. So you want it, the earlier, the better for consuming alcohol, right? So happy hour is a better time to do it because you can sit out, have a couple of drinks. No alcohol is the best for sleep hygiene, but if you're going to have some, have it around happy hour earlier. Have your supper and, start preparing to go to bed after that, right? Don't be consuming alcohol too late at night because, as we know, alcohol can affect our REM sleep and we don't get as much sleep, and it's a depressant, right? So as we metabolize alcohol, a depressant slows things down, our heart rate and blood pressure, things like that. But as we metabolize it, everything speeds up. So things tend to speed up our heart rate and things like that, right? So it's harder for us to get into a proper sleep, and it can disrupt people's sleep. People wake up thirsty and dehydrated, and they're going to the bathroom and so on. So you can see why you wouldn't want to consume alcohol too late at night. Although some people say it helps them get to sleep, but it doesn't necessarily help them get the proper quality and quantity of sleep. It helps with their latency, but doesn't really help with much more. And then again, that has a huge impact. We know that lack of sleep over time can have a huge impact on our lifespan, right? It's up there in the high level for impacting our lifespan. So you need to also look at, where am I? You got to look at your stimulants. So watching how much caffeine and nicotine that you consume before bedtime, right? So There's generic differences in caffeine metabolization, but on the average it takes roughly 6 hours for your body to break down half the caffeine you've consumed. This is why for some, drinking a coffee or an energy drink at 3 o'clock is enough to keep them up at night. I can drink tea in the evening, but not so much coffee. Coffee affects me at night as the caffeine that I would talk about, what I would be consuming, right? So a recent study found that consuming caffeine within 6 hours of bed reduces total sleep time by 1 hour. Regarding nicotine, research has shown that it can increase sleep latency and worsen overall sleep quality. As a result, it recommends that members avoid the consumption of stimulants at least 4 to 6 hours, that's where I was getting my hours from, 4 to 6 hours before bed in order to reduce sleep disruption. So if an energy drink boost is required, so if you're losing energy, the best thing to do would be to have a nap as earlier described. Okay, so have a little nap through the day rather than, turning to caffeinated beverages and nicotine. So let's go to in the evening. Let's see here. Before we go into the evening, let's have a sip of our whatever we're drinking. I'm having a coffee here this morning, black. I'm cutting back, so I've gone to black coffee, and it's pretty good. I like it that way. Okay. Let me find my notes here. Gotta stay on track. Gotta know stuff. Okay, at bedtime. No, in the evening. Why am I going so quickly? I'm not trying to get away from you guys, I promise. Evening. Okay, yes, in the evening. So in the evening, we want to start probably reduce exposure to light 2 hours prior to bedtime. So that's when you want to, get off your computers, get off your TVs, get away from your electronics, gaming, gambling online, all that stuff. Try to get away from that at least 2 hours prior to bedtime. Because what it does is a light exposure in the evening can trick your body into thinking it's still daytime. And blue light is the worst offender. Okay? Ideally, reduce exposure 2 hours before bed by dimming the lights and turning off all your electronics. And I know that can be very difficult for people to do. So if it's very difficult for you to do, there are things settings and stuff on your devices that you can do to sort of turn off that blue light, right, if you can, and reduce the settings on there, reduce the light quality on there, best you can, to get to sort of a warmer, less blue glow, if you can. But really in the evening, exposure to light, and I know it's harder in the summertime with exposure to light because it's lighter longer for us, so it's still light outside. So that's another thing to keep in mind too, is how late are you outside and stuff before bed in the evening when it's light outside. That could have an impact on your sleep. And the quality and quantity, and getting to sleep too, right? I think most people have talked about that part. I know it's hard, and some people say, oh, I can fall asleep in bed watching TV, right? So remember, these are just tips and guidelines that we're providing to you. So if your sleep quality is off, take a look at how long you are on these devices at nighttime and watching TV and binging Netflix and things like that late at night. I know for myself, I watched something, and I knew I shouldn't have done this, but anyway, I watched Stateless. It's on Netflix, and anyway, it was very disturbing to me. It was a very sad sort of a show. I don't know if anybody's watched it, but I felt it was important for me to watch it, and anyway, long story short, after watching that, and I went to bed shortly afterwards, I think I dreamt about that whole thing the whole night. Have you ever binge watched something, any type of program, and gone to bed and then you're still in it the whole night, and then you wake up, and some people wake up and then they watch it again and they're still on it. You never quite get away from that, right? So you got to be careful with that. That's really disrupting your sleep cycle and the quality and quantity of sleep that you're getting. You're kind of just, your mind is not having a chance to relax, right? And I've been guilty of doing that, so I really have to watch myself now, especially news. I have to watch myself with watching the news too late at night, because some of it can be, upsetting, right? And then you're kind of ruminating a little bit, and then you're trying to go to sleep at night. That can be very different, very hard. So establish an evening routine if you can. So a certain routine and actions and things that you would do to cue your body to go to sleep. What's helped me is this little device for me. Like my time to go to bed is, I go to bed at midnight. So I sleep from 12 to 7:30 or 11:30 to 7. That's just what I do, right? So this thing will vibrate at 10 o'clock and it'll tell me that it's time for me to start cueing myself to get ready for sleep, right? So have the same routine each night. Some people will have a shower or a bath or read a book or listen to some music or an audiobook or whatever it might be. Some people do relaxation exercises. Some will sit with their partner or their friend or their kids and read their kids a story or bath their kids or have that sort of routine. And the same with your kids. Try to keep your kids on the same routine as well, right? So the family routine is important in the evening, right? You have your supper, you're doing your dishes, you're getting your bath done, you're getting your kids organized, you're getting yourself organized, your spouse is getting organized, you're getting your things ready, and you're having that sort of routine in the evening so that it's your body circadian rhythm is in par with your routine in the evening, right? And it sometimes is easier for people to, the latency of sleep, being able to fall asleep at night. Anything that 1 to 2 hours prior to bedtime can disrupt sleep. So things like making a list of things that you're supposed to do just before bed. Now, for some people, if they're ruminating about their day and they can't get it out of their head, they will make a list of things that they have to do, and that stops the rumination, okay? So for some people, that will work. But what they're saying is, mostly on the average, if you start making your task list too close to bedtime, then you start to think about the stuff you gotta do. So then you're going to bed and you're like, oh, tomorrow, yes, I gotta go to the grocery store, liquor store, grocery store, the park, go for a walk, and then I gotta do this for work and that for work. I'm going into the workplace for a little while, then I'm coming home, and then we're doing all this, and then we look at the clock and we're like, why is it 2 in the morning and I'm still awake? Okay, so try to avoid task listings late at night if it's affecting your sleep. Okay, so if it's not, that's different. Okay, everyone's going to be a little bit different. Oh, and try not to play video games and gaming and gambling and all that stuff late at night online and stuff like that. I think Jeanette did talk about gaming and gambling and alcohol and medications and all that stuff. There's safe gambling and gaming, and then there's unsafe, unhealthy gaming and gambling. Okay, so those are things that if you're struggling with some of those, that you can reach out to your healthcare professionals, us. There's lots of, I'm going to give you a list of resources at the end, but that's something that you might want to cue into too, as well, as because people are at home and they're bored and they're gaming more, gambling more, drinking more, and so on. That definitely has an impact on anxiety, stress, depression, and so on and so on. So we got to be careful with that. Got a little tangent there, didn't I? So kind of avoid some of those things a couple of hours before bed. Okay. At bedtime. Oh, another thing to do is of course we already talked about you not being on your computer, but going into your work emails. I've been guilty of doing that a few times. I'll just check before I go to bed, and I go in there, it's 11, and then I get this before I go to sleep, and you're one more, and then what's going on Facebook, and then I look, it's 1:30 in the morning, right, and then my pattern's off, right? So I know you're working from home, and I know we're trying to be diligent, but pattern yourself so that you are not checking those emails before you go to bed, unless there's an emergency or you are somebody who needs to be doing that for safety reasons, for operational reasons and things like that. That's going to be different, right? Of course, you're going to be doing things that are going to be protecting the country and stuff and so on and so on. Those are things for that certain reason you wouldn't be doing. You would not do that, right? All right, so at bedtime. I have a quote here I want to share with you. Insufficient sleep impairs the brain's fundamental ability to function efficiently, which can be overcome by motivation, initiative, willpower, or caffeine. Caff balance strategy. Cannot be overcome. Did I say can? Cannot. I had to rethink that one. Cannot be overcome by motivation, initiative, willpower, or caffeine. I don't know what I was saying. Did I say it right? Never mind. Let's go to bedtime. Okay, at bedtime. Prepare a bedtime snack. Okay, so for some people they need a bed. I'm going to talk about a few little dietary things that I learned that were different that I didn't know would help with sleep at bedtime. But for some people, hunger, like I mentioned earlier, low blood sugar is a common reason why people cannot fall asleep. So it does impact their latency. And I remember raising my own kids. My older son was pretty good. Like he would eat until he ate his meals and that was it. He was an intuitive eater. He would eat and he would eat when he was hungry. I tried to get him on a schedule, which helped. It was 3 meals a day. He wasn't much of a snacker. He didn't need any food before bed. He went right to sleep on his routine. But my younger son was a little bit different. And he was a lighter eater, a lighter snacker, and ate lighter meals. And he needed to have something before bed. And if he didn't have it, it was very difficult for him to go to sleep. So he would have a bowl of cereal about an hour before bed-ish time. And he would sleep and he was fine, right? So there is something to a bedtime snack. So like people who start, like if you're doing a certain diet of some sort, and you're not snacking before bed and you're sleeping and it's working, it's very individual, but for some people some people do need that little bedtime snack before they go to bed because it helps keep their blood sugar constant and it's easier for people to fall asleep. So there's some foods that they recommend that have a beneficial effect on sleep. So quality carbs 1 hour before bed can reduce sleep latency. So the time to fall asleep. So rice, pasta, bread. I'm going to try to pronounce this. Tryptophan may improve sleep latency and quality. I'll spell it to you. Tryptophan, P-H-A-N, may improve sleep latency and quality. For example, they give us an example. 300 grams of turkey or 200 grams of pumpkin seeds, spinach, walnuts, almonds, legumes, and edamame. Has anybody heard of edamame before? First time I had to look it up last night. It's spelled Edamame. And I looked it up. So it's in preparation of an immature soybean in the pod. Pods are boiled and steamed. Pods are boiled or steamed, and then you can serve them with salt or other condiments. But in Japan, they blanch them in 4% salt water, and they're green. They look like little pea, like those little peas that come in a little thing. That's what they look like if you look them up on you just look them up on Google or whatever. I never heard of them before. I don't know if anybody else heard of them before, but I found it interesting. So melatonin-rich foods may decrease sleep latency, so like walnuts and almonds, and I did look that up. I was reading a little bit on that, and I see almonds a lot in different places, but more research has to be done on that, but they do say there is some support in having walnuts or almonds. And magnesium-rich foods may promote relaxation. For example, bran, pumpkin, sunflower, butter, seeds. Some examples of pre-bed snack ideas include a small bowl of white rice with lean meat, low-fat dairy products with sliced bananas, or 1 slice of whole grain toast with almond butter. So when I looked at that, I thought, so my son, he has he has bran flakes. He was having bran flakes or something like that with 1% milk or raisin bran or something like that. So that was something that you can put those two together, right? And you can that was what was working for him. Then they talk about Tart cherry juice has also been shown to increase melatonin levels along with overall time in bed, sleep duration, and efficiency. Drink 1 cup of 100% non-concentrated juice or 2 tablespoons of the concentrate 1 to 2 hours before bed or in the morning. So I think I can remember getting a lot of questions in Top Fuel for Top Performance, and a lot of the military members were saying, like, what can we have first thing in the morning, we get up and we go to PT class. And again, timing is different, and that's a whole other top fuel. That's a whole other course. It would depend upon what time you get up and what time you go and do your PT. But we know that people are, our blood sugars and things tend to be a little bit lower when we get up in the morning, right? So having a little something, if it's less than 1 hour prior to your activity, you want to keep things that are not as heavy, right? So if you're having liquid, so if you're having the orange juice or the 2 tablespoons of concentrate, and then you're having some water with that, that might be enough for you. There's a variety of different other things that you can have less than 1 hour, and that's a whole other thing. And I think Jeanette did a segment on top fuel for top performance. I believe that she did one on that. But if you have any questions about that, reach out to us. I can't go into it. I don't have time. It would take me another couple of hours to do that, and I'm sure that that won't be cool for a lot of you guys. So for some, a light snack at bedtime, and as I mentioned, a few of those different things. And if you were to research this online, I did that yesterday when I was reading through this article, and I did find a lot of the similarities in the literature that's in here, right? So it's kind of neat that we're seeing a lot of the different foods in there. But it's again, it's going to be very individual, and that is something that you would track. So it's so hard when you say, I can't sleep, and then you go, where do I start, right? So we've given you already a few things you can start with. You're going to start with your physical activity, you're going to start with your diet and nutrition throughout the day, you're going to start with your diet at night, you're going to start with the time that you go to bed, you're going to look at the activities, the timing into the activities for when you go before you go to bed, you're going to look at your stress level, your anxiety level, and all those different things. You got to look at a lot of different things to sort of see how is your sleep being impacted, right? But don't be overwhelmed with it. Just start with a few things. If you've picked something out already, just take a look at that and just start slowly. Don't overwhelm yourself, because guess what? You might not be able to sleep. Just kidding. Are people still awake? I don't know. All right, let's go on. Consider what your bedroom conditions are like, okay, at nighttime. So how much light do you have? It should be dark and cool in there. Between 16 to 20 degrees, and now that is going to vary for a lot of people. Me and my husband, my poor Kenny, in the wintertime, I'm sure he finds snowflakes on his face at night because I keep the window open. I'm a 50-year-old woman. I need to have it cold in there. So you have to talk to your partner and see if you can come up with a happy medium. He can put blankets on. So if it's a little cooler in there, you can put a blanket on, right? So you got to look at that. So you're looking at how cold is it? How dark is it? How noisy is it? So are you living, if you have to have your window open to get air in there, are you by a street and you're hearing cars and noise and honking and people outside and stuff like that? They say that if you have earplugs or like an eye covering, that has a huge impact on getting quality and quantity of sleep, especially for people who are in hospitals. So you're looking at people in hospitals during COVID-19 and people in multiple rooms. Think about all the people that are in these enclosures during this time and trying to get quality of sleep. So they found that they would get better quality of sleep if they had earplugs, proper earplugs, and eye coverings to keep it quiet, keep the darkness in there, right? To get better sleep than if you didn't have any of that. And as you could just imagine how hard it would have been to sleep, right? You also got to look at your mattress, your pillows, your blankets. You're looking at the noise. So for some people, with tinnitus, they need like a noise machine because the too quiet is very difficult for them to sleep. So you're also looking at people who have sleep apnea. Do they need a machine? And so you got to look at what are the sort of things that I need. I know for like at the beginning of the spring, my neighbors had skunks living under their shed. So they had a radio on and underneath their shed for the first part of the spring. So I just, now I didn't have my air conditioners in or anything like that. I had my window open and I was, trying to go to sleep. So I had to get something for my ears to fall asleep. And they were very good about it. They came and they said, can you hear the radio and stuff like that? I said, I kind of lied because I didn't want to, make them feel bad. But I said, oh, it's not too bad. I said, it's still kind of cool. I don't have my window out all the way, but it was. I could hear it. Kenny couldn't hear a thing, nothing. But I think I'm a little bit closer. But they were very good about it. They were very neighborly about it. And it didn't take very long. So sometimes periodically we need to adjust what we have in the conditions in our room. Some people actually have to put a towel or something for the bottom of the door so no light comes in at all, right? I have recently switched providers for my internet, and they put the main, I know I shouldn't have a TV in my room, but I do. Not that I watch it right before bed, but I do have there's a television in our room. Did I just admit that? But anyway, there's a television in our room. So the main docking thing is in our room, and it looks like the Enterprise. Like there's all these lights all over it. So I had to take a picture frame and lean it against where all the lights are and sort of cover it up, because it was just like being in a discotheque trying to go to sleep at night, right? So you got to take your room and make it so you can fall asleep. Some people need a fan on, some people don't. So we keep a fan on in our room to oscillate. There's different conditions in your room. I can actually sleep through rain hitting our tin roof outside my window. We have a tin shed. And if I hear it, I'm like, oh, I'm back to sleep. But anyway, long story short, making sure that you get your room to the proper conditions can make a huge difference. So if somebody's snoring and things like that and you're having a hard time sleeping, some people have to, again, get the earplugs. There's really good earplugs out there nowadays that can help with that. Okay. So research has documented that if you get your room condition to a place where you could sleep, then it does improve quality, quantity, and latency of sleep. Okay, so now we're looking at how much sleep do people need. Okay, so this is the quantity of sleep. And there's so many opinions and literature out there on how much sleep we should actually be getting. And it can vary in our lifespans, like as we were children to as I am a 50-year-old person now. My amount that I needed when I was born is going to be different than the amount that I need now, right? However, in saying that, they're saying that, from this article's perspective, they're saying the recommended amount for most adults is 7 to 9 hours. However, okay, there will be short sleepers who need less than 7 hours and long sleepers that need more than 9 hours of sleep. So how do you know you're getting enough? Well, consider how fast you're falling asleep. Are you asleep the moment your head hits the pillow? Are you falling asleep on the couch, having trouble getting up in the morning even with an alarm? If so, then you may need more sleep. Or are you consistently waking up before the alarm? Laying awake, unable to fall asleep with stimulants, blue light, and large meals, etc. are eliminated as causes. Okay, so perhaps you're getting enough sleep. Finally, consider how you feel during the day. So you're looking at, do you feel good? What's your mood like? What's your performance like? Are you able to tackle tasks? Are you grumpy? Are you tired? Are you getting some extra sleep? So if you are grumpy and tired, getting a little bit of extra sleep is a good starting point, right? And we've done, I've been doing this job for a long time, so we've done workshops over the past. I think we had a nutrition fair, not a nutrition fair, a health fair. And we had workshops, side workshops going on. We had a psychologist come in and she talked about sleep. And one of her things that she talked about when it comes to sleep is that it didn't matter really if you had 5.5 hours of sleep or you got 10 hours of sleep. As long as A, B, C, D, and E for you were in place, right? And that was her perspective on sleep, right? So there's a lot, like anything else, there's a lot of literature out there on sleep. You're going to, as long as you're taking the information from credible sources and you are keeping in touch with your medical professionals and your mental health professionals and your pharmacy. Pharmacies are underutilized. Talk to your pharmacy if you're having trouble sleeping, right? They can give you some tips too. It's not, when it comes to medications, that's where you would talk to your medical doctor and your pharmacies, okay, when it comes to medications, okay, that's a whole other different area. And that's not something that you should rule out or rule in. It's very different for everybody, okay, and timing of all those things will be very individual, okay. Reserve your bed for sleep and sex. So when you engage in other activities in bed, such as doing work or watching TV, your brain becomes less primed for sleep and crawling into bed. So crawling into bed should serve as a time for your body and your circadian rhythm to say that this is time for me to fall asleep and get some sleep. And you should be fall asleep within 30 minutes. And if you're not falling asleep within 30 minutes, then you have to get up, go to another room, do some relaxation exercises. Me, sometimes if I can't fall asleep, I get up and I walk to the window, I look outside because usually there's stars or whatever, it's quiet outside, or I go sit outside for a minute. or just open the window or whatever, and then I go. Everyone's different, right? And then I can sometimes try to go back to sleep. There's going to be times too, they say, not from this article, but one of the other pieces of literature that I read. It says, you know what? Get up once in a while. Just get up, and then go back to bed. If you were just getting up and going back to bed every time and staying up, well, that's going to be a problem. But there's been times I'm like, you know what? It's 4 a.m. I'm just going to get up. Can't sleep. I'm going to get up and enjoy it. I got some extra time. I can do some extra things for myself. Maybe I'll get to bed at my proper time and go back to my regular pattern. So sometimes just getting up works for people, right? It's going to be very individual. So random fact. I know my time is running out. Recent yet limited evidence suggests there may be a link between sleep and sex. A study of shift workers found that those who were more rested reported a greater satisfaction with their sex lives. Similarly, nurses who participated in a 3-session sleep intervention reported improved sleep quality, as well as increased sexual self-efficacy and satisfaction with their sex lives. Yet another reason to prioritize your sleep. So in general, maintaining, so we're looking at, during the pandemic and things like that. One of the things they did say was maintaining your social connections even while physical distancing. So even though we can't, when you look at the beginning when we had 0 contact, now we're actually getting some contact. But when we didn't have any contact, it does matter by keeping our connections with our friends and family members. That's important to have those connections. It's important to feel connected to people, our colleagues, our friends, our family, our community. Medical research as those with greater social supports have shorter hospital stays and are more compliant with treatment programs and have better sleep quality and latency. At present, social connection has been constrained, by social distancing policies, which is why the government's messaging has emphasized maintaining social contact even as we remain physically apart. But as we know now, we're able to get closer together, which some people are probably saying, I can sleep better because I've been able to see my mom or my father or my kids or my loved ones or my family members who are in PEI or wherever. Right? We're able to now get out and see our loved ones, which is reducing some anxiety and loneliness for people, which is in fact actually adding to their quality of sleep for some people. Right? They're not worrying and ruminating and having fear and feeling lonely and things like that. Right? Manage your stress as best as possible, so there is some linkages between psychological and psychosocial stress with disturbed sleep, particularly when experienced close to bedtime. So unfortunately, during this period of time for people, that has been very difficult, and going to those normal things that we used to go to was just disrupted, and I think I talked about this at the beginning. So maintaining your stress as best as possible. I know that we've done other videos on that too as well. So take a look back in the archives for managing your stress. And this was disrupted. As we know, we're actually being able to get back into that. But what some people were doing before is they were going to the wrong coping mechanisms for stress. They were turning to substances and gaming and gambling and other things, right? That were keeping them up late at night and things like that. But one of the things you can do is designate a time for yourself to worry and feel. It says give yourself permission to be able to do that, because when you don't give yourself a chance to do that, that can be very difficult, and you're holding it can have an impact on your mental health, your mental fitness, and things like that. So designate a time to feel that. Right, Scotty? Pets can also be a good thing. What good timing. Did we plan this? Pets can be very good for managing stress. So people have been... Sorry, got a little furry there. People can turn to their pets and their family and things like that. Spend time in nature, bonding with your pet, working towards a new fitness goal. If your fitness level has changed, so start a new fitness goal based on the situation that you're in. Remember that mastery and acceptance of the situation that you're in, and set your fitness goal, set your diet, do all that. Reset your health, your resiliency, as we talked about. And then I talked about before, control, right? Focus on the things you can control and not so much the things you can't control. Because the things you can't control is where if we put a lot of energy into things we can't control, We're spinning our wheels. We're hanging on. Okay, and we're putting a lot of energy into stuff that's not going to change. So focus on the things that you can control. Accept the situation that you're in and master it. And part of the mastery is looking at your sleep pattern and your sleep hygiene. Relaxation techniques can help for a lot of people, especially for progressive muscle relaxation for patients with COVID-19. They found that the research showed that if they did up to 30 minutes of progressive muscle relaxation, it would benefit their sleep, right? But they had to do it for 5 consecutive days, and it improved their quality while being hospitalized with COVID-19. So that said, some studies have involved healthy and or high performance populations have found the following benefits per PMR, progressive muscle relaxation, reduced sleep latency, music-assisted relaxation improves sleep quality, and mindfulness interventions reduce pre-bed activation and improved sleep quality. I think I got it out there. So in saying that, my Monday short is going to be actually on the benefits of relaxation techniques. I'm going to talk about the benefits and maybe give you some examples of what you can do, okay, before bed. So one research fact I want to give you before I leave, a random fact, research suggests that after 17 to 19 hours without sleep, performance on cognitive tests is comparable to that of a person with a blood alcohol level of 0.05, not far from the legal limit in Ontario. Okay, this document was in Ontario, but I think it's the same for Nova Scotia. Okay, so that is a little lot bit. I think I went over 7 minutes today on the sleep. It's from an article that we got, and if you're in health promotion, you will have got this article. I want to thank you for joining me this morning. It's always a pleasure coming out and seeing you guys here. I'm glad that you're able to tune in. So on Monday, I will be doing my Monday morning short at 10 o'clock on relaxation, the benefits of relaxation. Jeanette's topic next Thursday is summertime living. So she'll be doing summertime living next Thursday at 11. If you haven't had a chance to visit our national health promotion webinars, go on our CAF Connection, CAF connection.ca website, and just click on health promotion webinars, and they're in French and English. There are sleep on webinars on there. You can't be on a D1 computer, you got to be on a computer at home, but they're pre-recorded there. So Jeanette sent me 3 of them, and I'm gonna get her to post some of the sleep Demio videos for you, and I will try to get this article that I read put on there as well. I also mentioned to you before I'm going to leave that I did have some resources for you. I know this is backwards, I know you can't see it, but there are the different resources out there that you can turn to if you're having trouble with sleep. Okay, if you want to reach out to a mental health professional for military members, you can call CAF MAP. Okay, if you're looking for the CAF MAP number, I do have it somewhere. What did I do with it? Oh, I can't show you it. Anyway, there's the CAF. It's a 1-800 number. I had it on here. Oh, there's employees. Okay, here it is. 1-800-268-7708. And there's the Employee Assistance Program for MPF employees, and it's 1-800-387-4765. But the first number 2 is also for D&D employees and family members as well. And there's a lot of different numbers out there that you can tune into. There's the kids helpline. You've got your mental health professionals locally. You have health promotion. If in doubt and you're looking for a resource, whether you're civilian or military, please message us or email us, because we have tons of resource numbers that we can provide to you. Okay, so I can't talk anymore, as you can see, so I'm going to conclude today's briefing. Thank you for all of you guys that just came out to visit. Have a great day, have a great weekend, and I will see you next time. Bye.